Hello fellow geeks, my name is Bob Foster and this is
Ross Allison here.
And we're cityofgeek.com review of Annabelle Comes Home, the newest in the series of the Conjuring universe. It's the third one in this series and the 8th overall. And we figured I'd do an introduction here at Spooked in Seattle, where we have our own haunted doll and artifact collection, such as ones we have right here.
Yep.
And this gentleman with me is Ross Allison. He has written a book about haunted dolls and toys and such like that. And what else that you do? What are we here for?
Well, we do ghost tours here. We also do ghost hunts. This is the home base for Ghost, the Advanced Ghost Hunters of Seattle, Tacoma, which is the oldest ghost hunting group in the Pacific Northwest. And of course, this is where you can get a copy of my book, Haunted Toys, which features Annabelle as well. And we actually have a smaller version of the one from the movies. We got this
from Warner Brothers.
Yeah, we actually did a promotion for when the movie came out, the first one. And then the one behind it, a lot of people aren't aware of, but that is actually an exact replica of the real Annabelle doll, the one that's owned by the Warrens that inspired Annabelle in the first place. But of course, this is a prime example of Hollywood. The Raggedy Ann doll's not scary enough, so let's make another doll that's scarier. So yeah, that's how we got that.
And like Ross, I'm a member of A Ghost and Spooked in Seattle, along with Kim from the podcast and other reviews. So check out everything that we do with that. We'll put this review up there. So if you're coming to us from A Ghost, pop over to cityofgeek.com, figure out everything we're working at. And if you're living in Pacific Northwest or visiting us, come to Spooked in Seattle and check out our tours. I might be your tour guide, might be Ross, might be Kim, might be someone else. But we're going to pop back to my house. We're going to have a review of Annabelle Comes Home. If you want more information about how I feel about the rest of the series outside of this one, up to including the course of Run earlier this year, check out my Seen Them All review, which I went through each of the films chronologically, talking about them that should be floating around my head somewhere. What's holding it up? Is it ghosts? Let's see if YouTube even lets me put it up there. I have the worst luck in getting everything to be lined up correctly. If not, just give that a search or just look elsewhere on the channel. You can find that. Other than that, I'm just going to focus on Annabelle Comes Home today. The film concerns an event in a single night occurring at the Warrens' house, and they have to leave town overnight for an investigation, leaving their daughter with their longtime babysitter and her babysitter's best friend who comes by when she finds out what the Warrens actually do. The friend of the babysitter goes into the Warrens' artifact room where they keep Annabelle and a bunch of other cursed objects, and of course she just touches everything, which is essentially the same as reading Latin in any sort of cabin in the woods movie. This event, of course, causing a revolving set of malevolent spirits to terrorize the almost stereotypical set of characters we have. Preteen daughter Judy, her babysitter, the almost ditzy best friend, and the cute boy who lives next door has a crush on the babysitter. And of course, Ed and Lorraine themselves barely function in the film, bookending it on either side in order to set up and then clean up plot and to give us a couple of named actors, since the main core aren't really well known. I don't think I've seen them in too many other things. Probably the daughter in the other Conjuring movies, and the other people seem slightly familiar, but I'm not entirely sure. That's essentially it for the plot. We got 4 characters isolated and stuck in this house being terrorized by about a half-dozen different ghosts. So there's no real deeper plotting. There's no finding the hidden backstories of each of these ghosts and how to dispel them. There isn't deeper character motivations besides the best friend, who we find out why she touched what she did. It's not just I'm gonna do the thing, so we do look at a little more for her here, but it doesn't really come in so much for the actual plot, and there's no perception altering surprise end twist that makes us reevaluate what we just saw. There isn't like a big character moment for this. It's a bunch of different sequences that probably could be moved around to no real change to the actual film. But you know, it's a well done, shallow movie. It's just a 3 women and 1 guy against a series of ghosts attacking them. We get Annabelle's demon, who we've seen in the other Annabelle movies as this big black figure, which, funny enough, I like to see. We do see him in the other movies kind of holding her up and moving her around, since she never really moves on her own. But I really wish there was like a shot of her being held by him in the little case that they keep her in, just like shoved in there like a too tall guy in that one episode of The Simpsons. If someone can make that, that'd be amazing. I do want to see that. They need to put that in the next movie. So if you're listening, Warner Brothers, do that. And there's a bunch of new ghosts that we've seen for the first time in this one. A sentient samurai outfit. I don't know if there's any more information besides that. I think we saw like a flash of paper that had that backstory that pops up a couple times. A blood spider bride by way of a cursed wedding dress. A ghost werewolf which is pretty cool. There's one known as the Ferryman and a couple one-offs that we might see for half of a second before we move on to something else. It's really amazing how well they choreograph as a group, each taking the one time to attack someone on their own before stepping back after a big sequence and a big scare, and then they vanish for a few minutes, which is kind of weird when it comes to what it seems like they're trying to do, but also I guess it leaves room to breathe in the movie. But it's almost like a bunch of guys in a Hong Kong action flick who are just waiting their turn to attack the good guy instead of teaming up in one go. It's like, alright, you go, now you go, now you go, until the end when they kind of converge. It's kind of weird. That's the way it focuses, but again, we have a movie. You gotta tell a story in some way. And sadly, if you're waiting for it, just a little spoiler there isn't any appearance by Ronnie Aarons, the nun. I was hoping to see her, hoping she'd pop up for maybe a little cameo, but surprisingly enough, there's no real mention of that. There's not really a mention of much of anything else in the Conjuring universe. This really stands on its own. You don't have to have that background of who everyone is in order to enjoy this movie and to get it. Annabelle's quickly explained in the opening scene. We don't need to have the stuff of creation or the first film. This can be seen without seeing anything else in there, and it's been perfectly okay. That way, it's a shallow movie because we just have this basic setup and these scares, and then moving on to the next thing. But it's also a very enjoyable, shallow movie. Gary Dauberman, who has written the previous Annabelle features along with The Nun, this is his first time directing, but he has a really great job in the way he sets up, uses the lighting, uses the fake scares before he gives you the real one. There's a couple of amazing sequences, especially with the Ferryman. The smorgasbord of spirits almost feels like a setup for other spin-offs, kind of throwing a bunch at us, seeing which ones stick, whether it be like the bride, the samurai suit. If I'm gonna bet my $2 on it, which makes sense in the course of the film, I'm gonna bet on the Ferryman. He was a standout of the new creatures. He had a couple really cool sequences with them coming around the house and gets really foggy. You see some bodies with the coins in their eyes, like I say, for bringing someone across whatever sticks. This is the thing for the Ferryman. He was really cool. There's a really clever uses of his methods in this for his couple of scenes. So if anyone was to become a next feature in the Conjuring universe, I'm betting on the Ferryman. Despite the shallow plot, it does work very well as a standalone scare fest. Gary Dauberman, who wrote and directed this, had written the first couple Annabelle movies and The Nun. This is his first time directing anything that's on IMDb, so I don't think any shorts ahead of time, just this. And this might even be a test run for him like it is those other spirits, and I think he did a fantastic job with what he had, with what he set himself up for. He wrote the story with James Wan, who directed the first two Conjuring films along with the Insidious movies, and I think he learned a lot from that, of what worked in those first two films in setting up the scares, paying them off, using a lot of great lighting, using fog, playing with audience expectations a lot, which kind of got to the point of like, now the first two times when he has a fake scare or something coming up and boom, here's supposed to be, it's not, then it comes from this side. When that happens a couple times, you kind of see where he's going with that, but I think it's better than what you expect. This isn't the same setup, repeat that we got in Curse of La Llorona earlier this year, which got really repetitive with the way those scares are done. So I give Dauberman great props for doing what he did. He's not going to the audience, he does some really clever setups with the spirits that he wrote for himself. It's almost like, I know what I can do, so I'm going to write it to my strengths, what I want to do in this movie. So he kind of wrote this, it seemed like he wrote this movie for his own direction, and I think that really worked. And also, I'm particularly call out the opening sequence with the Warrens when they're taking home Annabelle after that first scene in The Conjuring and in this movie when they're talking to the nurses. Great use of fog and character effects there. A lot of the makeup in this is really fantastic. I think Weta did some of it. I saw a couple other ones listed in the credits at the end. And a lot of it's practical. When you bring in Weta, you're going to bring a lot of practical. The werewolf was a practical effect, and it looked really solid with some CGI touch-ups, and it seemed like there was great, well-designed work. It's not overly done, but it's not super simple, like, say, The Curse of La Llorona, which simply had, like, you know, a JC Haunted House bride. This uses a kind of a bride again. She's kind of about the same as the Curse. It's like they wanted to use her, decided to change their mind and use this different blood splatter bride instead. I know that the Curse of La Llorona isn't a blood splatter bride, but she kind of looks at a couple changes that could have been her, as if they got her since then. So Annabelle Comes Home might be kind of trope heavy and kind of derivative to the previous movies and previous films, but it's a really well done way. I definitely enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun. I wasn't bored in any sense. I didn't really roll my eyes at the tropes. I thought I kind of leaned into them, kind of delivering exactly what you expect in a really good way. So all in all, I'm going to give Annabelle Comes Home a B. It's light, it's quick and easy, it's a lot of fun, so it's definitely an enjoyable movie. Just grab a bunch of your friends, such as Ross and June, who's on camera, and come see Annabelle Comes Home in theaters currently, or when it's at home if you're watching this later. So thank you, Ross, for doing this introduction, and we also have one of our other girls featured in your book.
Yeah, this is another one of our celebrities, Mr. Creepy. He's featured in quite a few books and other media, and he's actually been known to move his eyes and head.
Nice, nice. I haven't personally seen that, but I look forward to seeing it one day.
It's when you least expect it. June has experienced it many times.
So thank you again for watching the review. Thanks for talking to us today, Ross. And see you at citygeek.com. Like, comment, subscribe to this video, and pop on over to AGHOST and Spooked in Seattle's work as well. Thank you.